Her family abandoned her. A doctor adopted her. What she did then is hard to believe. Leila came into the world with a face that made people stare. From the very beginning, her reflection made others wince. She had uneven skin tones around her mouth, a neurological condition that made it hard to control her facial muscles, and a speech delay that often left her stammering through words. But none of that mattered to Leila, at least not at first, not when she was still small enough to believe that love came freely. She wore her Minnie Mouse shirts with joy, laughed loudly even if the sound came out crooked, reached for hugs, sang off key, and tried to make friends. But as time passed, she noticed the looks. How people avoided sitting next to her, how children laughed when she talked. Even at home, her joy started to dim. Her parents, young, impatient, and embarrassed, treated her like a defect. Her older siblings mocked her openly. "Why do you talk like that? Don't touch me with those freak hands." At dinner, her father told her to eat in another room. "You're ruining everyone's appetite," he muttered. After that, Leila stopped eating with them. At school, the humiliation worsened. Kids called her Melt-Face and Zombie Girl. They threw crayons at her, pulled her chair out from under her, and once locked her in a janitor's closet. A teacher found her hours later, curled up, eyes wide open, silent. She never cried. She just smiled, shakily, still hoping someone would choose kindness. But kindness rarely came. On her 7th birthday, she waited by the door wearing a homemade crown and holding cupcakes she had made with her grandmother. No one showed up, not one classmate, not even her cousins. "I told you not to get your hopes up," her mother said flatly. The worst day came weeks later. Her mother dropped her off at the hospital, pretending it was a regular checkup. Leila didn't know it would be the last time she saw her. After hours of waiting, a nurse approached her and said, "Sweetheart, your family isn't coming back. They've signed over custody." Leila sat frozen, still holding the coloring book her mom had given her in the car. She didn't ask questions. She just smiled, that same broken smile. The hospital placed her in a shared ward for medically complex children. The nurses were kind, but overwhelmed. Leila barely spoke. She just rocked in her chair, wearing a faded pink bib with cartoon flowers and the look of someone used to being forgotten. Days passed, then weeks. Other children got visitors, left with balloons, hugs, and promises. No one came for Leila. She began drawing pictures of homes, of mothers, of trees and sunshine and little girls without white patches on their faces. Sometimes she drew herself flawless, but most of the time she drew exactly what she saw in the mirror. And then came Dr. Adriana. She was a 33-year-old neurologist with deep brown skin and tightly coiled hair tucked under a surgical cap. She noticed Leila during a routine check. Something in the girl's eyes stopped her. Eyes that were wide, almost too big for her face, but full of something rare. Resilience. Adriana started visiting Leila's bed each shift. She asked questions, even if Leila didn't answer. She brought coloring books, told stories about her own awkward childhood, and sometimes just sat silently beside her. Leila started responding, first with nods, then with whispers, and finally with full sentences. She told Adriana about her favorite color, purple, about her dream of becoming a singer, even if my voice shakes, and how she wanted a family who didn't flinch when they looked at her. One day, Adriana brought her a little music box that played soft lullabies. Leila touched it carefully. "You brought this for me?" Adriana nodded. "Of course." That night, Leila drew something different. Not a house, not a fantasy. She drew Adriana holding her hand with a speech bubble that read, "You make me feel like I matter." Adriana stared at that picture for a long time. The next morning, she filled out the adoption papers. She didn't know what the future would bring, surgeries, therapy, public scrutiny, but she knew this. Leila had already been rejected by the world. She would never be rejected again. Years passed, but the image of that small girl with the cartoon bib and quiet smile never left Adriana's heart. Leila didn't just grow taller, she grew freer. Her speech became clear, her steps became steady, her once quiet eyes now danced with ambition. By the time she turned 18, she no longer wore cartoon bibs. She wore confidence like a crown. Adriana had never asked her to hide her scars. They were part of her story, but she did help her unlearn shame. People will stare, Adriana once told her. Make sure they remember what they saw. And they did. During her senior year, Leila wrote a speech titled "The Girl They Threw Away." It was raw, honest, and electric. She stood on stage in front of hundreds of students and spoke of abandonment, survival, and unexpected love. "I was never broken," she said, "just placed in the wrong hands." The room wept. Teachers embraced her. Colleges reached out. But Leila didn't stop there. She launched a YouTube channel, not to show off, but to tell stories. Stories like hers, of bullying, survival, healing. Her voice, once mocked, became her superpower. Her first viral video reached over 3 million views. By 21, she had published a memoir, Thrown Out, Lifted Up. She was invited to schools, conferences, hospital fundraisers. She advocated for facial difference awareness, foster care reform, and neurodivergent support. Then, one day, a TEDx invitation arrived. Leila stepped onto that stage, the lights hot on her face. "My name is Leila Morgan," she began. "I was born looking different. My family left me. But a woman with a stethoscope and a soft voice took my hand, and everything changed." She paused. The room leaned in. "I don't speak to shame the ones who left me. I speak so the next child isn't left." She ended her talk by holding up a faded, wrinkled drawing, the one she had made for Adriana at age 7. The caption still read, "You make me feel like I matter." The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Months later, at a book signing, a woman stood at the back of the line holding a worn copy of Leila's memoir. Her hands trembled. Her eyes were swollen. Leila noticed her immediately. When the woman reached the table, she said, "Leila, I'm your mother." Time froze. Leila stared, heart pounding. "I didn't know what to do back then. I was scared, ashamed. I never imagined you'd grow up to be this." Leila looked at her quietly. "I grew up because someone believed I was worth the effort." Her mother broke into tears. Leila nodded slowly. "I don't hate you. I just don't need what you took away anymore." The woman reached out. Leila took her hand, but gently and only for a second. Then she turned back to the line of children waiting for her autograph. The next morning, Leila woke up to thousands of messages. Children from all over the world had sent her videos. Parents wrote letters. Teachers asked if she could speak at their schools. One message came from a girl with burn scars on her face. "I saw myself in you for the first time. I think I want to be seen." Leila broke down reading it. She printed that message and taped it next to her bathroom mirror. She didn't wear makeup to cover her scars anymore. Instead, she wore bold lipstick, so people would look at her mouth when she spoke and really hear her. On her 25th birthday, Adriana surprised her by renting a small concert hall. Leila stepped on stage, not to speak, but to sing. Her voice filled the room, soft at first, then bold. As she hit the high note, Adriana placed a hand over her heart. The audience didn't clap. They stood, row by row, tears streaming down their faces. The headlines the next day read, "From Abandoned to Unstoppable, Leila sings her story." Beneath the photo, one quote, "I thought I was thrown away. Turns out I was just waiting to be found." Years later, Leila stood on the hospital steps where she had once been left behind. A bronze plaque had been installed near the entrance, in honor of Leila Morgan, proof that every life abandoned can become a life adored. A little girl stood beside her, holding her mother's hand, staring up in awe. "Is that you?" the girl asked. Leila knelt down and smiled. "Yes, that was me. And one day, it could be you too." The girl smiled back, shy but glowing. Leila stood again. Adriana joined her side. They looked out at the world together, not as doctor and patient, but as mother and daughter. The past tried to define her, but Leila rewrote the ending herself.